What if the only thing standing between you and the greatest version of yourself is not money, not time, not opportunity, but simply the identity you are refusing to assume right now? What if I told you that every extraordinary man or woman who ever walked this earth did not wait until they became great to think like greatness? They assumed that mind first. They wore that identity before the world gave them permission. They spoke like it, moved like it, breathed like it, until reality had no choice but to catch up. What if your future self is sitting somewhere in your imagination right now, waiting, wondering why you keep choosing the smaller version of who you are? The distance between where you are and where you want to be is not measured in years or dollars. It is measured in the gap between your current thinking and the thinking of the man you intend to become. Today, that gap closes. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will not just inspire you, it will fundamentally rewire the way you see yourself forever. What if the life you have always dreamed of, the success you have always desired, the man or woman you have always wanted to become has been waiting, not for your circumstances to change, but for your mind to change first? What if the single most powerful transformation available to any human being on this earth requires no money, no special talent, no perfect timing, but simply the courageous decision to assume right now the mind of the person you intend to become? This is not a motivational fantasy. This is not wishful thinking dressed up in beautiful words. This is one of the most profound, scientifically grounded, spiritually validated truths ever discovered about human potential. And it begins with understanding something that most people will never grasp in their entire lifetime: that the mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is vividly, emotionally, repeatedly imagined. Let that truth sit with you for a moment. Your brain, the most sophisticated instrument in the known universe, cannot separate a deeply felt mental experience from a physical one. This means that when you consistently, deliberately, and emotionally assume the identity of the person you intend to become, your subconscious mind begins treating that identity as your current reality and starts working invisibly, powerfully, relentlessly to bring your outer world into alignment with your inner world. But here is where most people make the fatal mistake. They sit and they wait. They say, so when I get the promotion, I will start thinking like a leader. When I make the money, I will start thinking like a wealthy man. When people respect me, I will start carrying myself with confidence. And so they wait, and life passes them by because they have the entire formula backwards. Achievement does not create the mindset. The mindset creates the achievement. Identity does not follow success. Success follows identity. You must first become, in your mind, what you wish to see manifested in your life. Think about the most successful people you have ever admired. Study them closely enough, and you will discover that long before the world recognized their greatness, they had already recognized it themselves. Long before they had the resources, they had the resolve. Long before they had the results, they had the mindset. They did not stumble into success and then suddenly begin thinking differently. They thought differently, and then success had no choice but to find them. Now, I want to speak to you about desire, because without burning, all-consuming, obsessive desire, the assumption of a new identity will remain nothing more than a pleasant daydream. You must want the transformation of your character and your circumstances with such ferocity that the old version of you becomes genuinely unbearable to inhabit. Desire is not a gentle wish. Desire is a fire. And that fire must burn so hot inside of you that every single day, the thought of remaining who you currently are causes you more pain than the fear of becoming who you are meant to be. Most people live with mild preferences. They would like to be successful. They would like to be healthier. They would like to be wealthier. And mild preferences produce mild results. But the man who has transformed his desire into a consuming obsession, who wakes up in the morning already inhabiting the mind of his intended self, who makes every decision from the perspective of the person he is becoming, that man becomes unstoppable. Not because the world suddenly handed him opportunity, but because his mind became so singularly focused that opportunity was the only thing it could attract. And now I must tell you about the extraordinary power of self suggestion, because the mind is not a fixed structure. It is a living, moldable, infinitely programmable instrument. Every thought you repeat becomes a belief. Every belief becomes a behavior. Every behavior becomes a result. This means that if you deliberately, consistently, and emotionally feed your mind the thoughts of the person you intend to become, you are literally rewriting the software of your subconscious. Speak your intended identity aloud every single morning. Write it down with conviction every single evening. Feel it in your body as though it is already your absolute reality. The subconscious mind does not respond to half-hearted whispers. It responds to emotional intensity, repetition, and absolute certainty. Do not underestimate the power of the words you speak to yourself in the quiet moments of your day. When no one is watching, when you are alone with your thoughts, that is where your true identity is being either constructed or destroyed. The man who tells himself he is incapable is building a prison with his own words. The man who tells himself he is capable, worthy, powerful, and destined for greatness is laying the foundation of an empire, one thought at a time. Now, let me speak to you about your environment, because the assumption of a new mental identity cannot survive in an environment designed to reinforce the old one. Look around you right now. The people you spend the most time with, are they reflecting back to you the image of the man you intend to become? Or are they daily reminding you of the limitations you're trying to escape? Your associations are not neutral. They are either accelerating your transformation or sabotaging it. The conversations you engage in, the content you consume, the books you read, the voices you allow into your mind, all of it is either feeding your future self or feeding your old self. You cannot assume the mind of an extraordinary person while surrounding yourself exclusively with ordinary thinking. This does not mean you abandon the people you love. It means you become fiercely intentional about your mental diet. Seek the company of those who are already where you wish to go. Read the words of those who have already become what you wish to become. Study greatness with the same devotion that a student studies for the most important examination of his life. Because in truth, that is exactly what this is. And perhaps the most essential element of this entire transformation, the invisible bridge between the mind you currently have and the mind you intend to inhabit, is faith. Not blind faith, not passive faith, but active, dynamic, unshakable faith in the reality of your intended identity. Faith is the substance of things not yet seen by the eyes, but already accepted as real by the mind. Without faith, doubt creeps in like a slow poison. Doubt tells you that you are not enough. Doubt tells you that your dreams are too large. Doubt tells you to go back to safety, back to comfort, back to smallness. And if you listen to doubt, it will be the most expensive conversation you ever have. But when faith is strong, when you have so thoroughly assumed the mind of your intended self that doubt no longer finds a foothold, then you become one of those rare, remarkable individuals who seems to attract success as though by magic. It is not magic. It is the inevitable consequence of a mind so completely aligned with its intended reality that every thought, every word, every action moves in the direction of that reality with perfect consistency. I want you to understand something deeply today. The version of you that you dream about, that wealthier, more confident, more purposeful, more powerful version, is not some distant fantasy. That person exists right now in the realm of your imagination, waiting for you to stop treating them as a future possibility and start treating them as a present reality. The moment you make that decision, the moment you say, I am not waiting to become this person, I am assuming this person's mind right now, today, in this moment. That is the moment your entire life begins to change. Every morning when you wake up, before the world has a chance to remind you of your current circumstances, you must deliberately, consciously, and powerfully choose the mind of your intended self. Ask yourself, how would the man I am becoming think about this situation? How would he respond to this challenge? What decision would he make in this moment? And then, With every ounce of discipline and courage you possess, act from that place, not from where you are, from where you are going. This practice will feel uncomfortable at first. The old identity will resist. Old habits of thinking will fight back. The people around you may not understand the change they see in you. And there will be days when the gap between who you currently are and who you are becoming feels impossibly wide. On those days, do not retreat. Do not surrender the assumed identity for the comfort of the familiar. Instead, hold tighter. Speak louder to yourself. Affirm more powerfully, because it is precisely in those moments of resistance that the transformation is happening most profoundly beneath the surface. The caterpillar does not see itself becoming a butterfly while it is inside the cocoon. It cannot see the wings forming. It cannot know the flight that awaits. But the process of transformation is happening regardless. And it is happening because something inside that creature is already operating from the blueprint of what it is designed to become. You are no different. Inside of you right now is the complete blueprint of the extraordinary person you are meant to be. The only question is whether you will have the courage to assume that mind fully, completely, and without apology, until the world can see what you have always known was there. The message of this speech is ancient and eternal, yet it is as urgent and relevant as this very moment you are breathing in right now. Assume the mind of the man or woman you intend to become, not someday, not when the conditions are right, but today. Begin with your thoughts. Guard them with fierce intention. Repeat them with emotional conviction. Surround yourself with environments that reinforce them. Burn with desire so powerful that your old identity becomes impossible to return to. Build a faith so unshakable that doubt cannot find a single crack to enter through. And watch with absolute certainty as your outer world begins to reorganize itself around the inner world you have had the courage to claim. You were not born to live a small life. You were not born to settle for a fraction of your potential. You were born to grow, to expand, to become. And the becoming begins in the mind, right here, right now, in this very moment. The man you intend to become is waiting. Assume his mind and go become him.